What's up guys, it's your boy Cockwipe6000 here to tell you to like and subscribe to the video because nobody's going to actually listen to the message at the end of the video when I tell you to do it again. So yeah, just do it now. Just do it now. That way, when you click out of the video in about 5 minutes, it'll be fine. Anyways, what is Ironmon? Ironmon is a Pokemon challenge that's blown up in popularity over the last few months on Twitch. It's a fairly complex challenge with a ranging variety of flavors depending on what type of challenge the user desires. As you can see, there's a lot of different versions of it, so I'm going to go over quickly just a few things that are common amongst every type of run in Ironmon. That would be only using items you find on the ground, so no buying things in shops. You can only catch one Pokemon per route, sort of like a normal nuzlocke. All wild Pokemon and trainers are going to have a 50% level increase to their Pokemon. So in other words, let's say you're at level 5. Half of 5 is 2.5. Rounded up is 8. So anything that would normally be level 5 will now be level 8, and so forth. All trainer Pokemon and the Pokemon in each of the individual routes are completely random from the pool of the Pokemon that are available in the national dex of whichever game you're playing. Stats are randomized based on their BST as well. BST stands for base stat total of a Pokemon, which also simulates a factor of its worth, in which you're able to determine for a run, where things are completely randomized, along with its typing and its ability to obtain level up moves. In other words, it's one of the few things that are not random, which helps you somewhat control the possible outcomes of the challenge. The higher the BST, the more likely a Pokemon is to have good stats, whether it's one really good stat and the rest of them are terrible, or a fairly even spread amongst all of their stats. It's a formula to determine what stats they're going to be guaranteed to get per level up before EV, IV calculations are taken into consideration, or nature is taken into consideration. So a Pokemon with a higher BST equals a Pokemon with more calculated chance of success than a Pokemon with a low BST. Even though lower BSTs can also be viable, they're less likely to be able to do good. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. The variation of the challenge that I'll be doing here is Survival Ironmon, in Pokemon FireRed version, as I mentioned before. And this is how I beat it. After talking to my mom and being abducted by the old man to be brought back to his lab for experimentation, he allowed me to pick up a pet for my travels for only the low cost of selling my soul to Satan for his pet dog. Which, I amply named Dog Poop, of course. He's my hellhound now. After quickly disposing of a mechanical creation that was created by tens of thousands of years of tempering by the godly beings, which was given to a child for some reason, I began my journey to town to be a coke mule for the old man that abducted me just a short time ago. Now, in Survival Ironmon, you're only allowed to use one Pokemon through the entire run, and if you catch any Pokemon that isn't for HM purposes only, then you have to permanently switch to that Pokemon, good or bad. So obviously, I didn't bother doing that considering I sold my soul for this insanely good boy. Also, this would be a good time to mention that in Survival Ironmon, you're restricted to how many Pokemon centers you can use per run, so you need to be careful of what times and points in the run you use them. To compensate for the added difficulty, you're allowed to buy up to 20 normal potions anytime before you fight the first gym, along with a few other niche situations that allow you to purchase items throughout. You can also use items outside of battle, as long as you're not in a gym or in the Elite Four. So, I proceed to head past the old man who was paid off by Oak to block my way until he got the goods, and walked into the forest of lost hopes and dreams. Now, this section is the absolute worst wall in the game. Even the best Pokemon with the best stats and the best movesets can get stamped out faster than a bag of flaming dog poop left on someone's doorstep in the late 90s. Speaking of dog poop, after burning down the forest and destroying our rival, again, we make it to the lair of the rock-hard man waiting for any children brazen enough to challenge him. Only children, though. Literally, there's a sign outside that said no adults allowed. Anyways, we challenged him and consumed his soul into the deepest pits of Hades. Hades nuts in his mouth. God, I hate myself. Anyways, now that the police came and talked me off the edge, I continue my way to Mount Moon, but not before getting stopped by a man who mugged some kids to hand me their shoes. But the shoes didn't have the blood of my enemies on them anymore, so I had to take care of some of the trainers to grease these bad boys up. So before actually entering Mount Moon, I made sure to buy an HM slave from an overweight gentleman that was inside. I head inside the cave and noticed that everything was brown and disgusting, so I assumed that brown means gross. So I took my time and I cleaned every ounce of this cave, including all the disgusting people inside, making it cleaner than a stripper pole on a Tuesday night. Pursuit? It'd be stab 60 base power, 20 PP. I'm thinking it's better than Mega Drain, yeah. This is actually like Ember and Pursuit are like the weakest stab moves I could get. It's kind of funny. Like well, I guess Fire Spin would be worse, but yeah, I think I get rid of Mega Drain for Pursuit. The only reason why Mega Drain would be good is like rock types and stuff like that, but even if Pursuit is not as strong as Ember because of the sun, but that's fine. Fast forward to Nugget Bridge to crush my rival one more time, then I find out it's called Nugget Bridge because none of the kids on it have had theirs drop yet. None of them besides the guy at the end who gives you his as a prize. Gross. Why? I managed to get through the entire route, and then some, before needing to waste another Pokemon Center. Because I have chronic ED, and the only thing that can pump me up is a visit to Nurse Joy. So I do this before heading into Misty's gym for my second badge. Spoiler. Misty ended up being as easy as she was in Pokemon Gold and Silver. If you know, you know. Bro, chat, type 1 if you got hair on your butt, and no capping. Like, if anybody types a 2, they're lying. Ranger Bussy Flap, let's go. What do they wax their ass? It still counts as having hair, they just shave. I didn't ask if you shave your ass, I asked if you have ass hairs. And also, the 2022 meta is to have a booty braid, it's not to have a clean shaven ass, so they need to get with the trends. Alright, well, Misty was a joke. Ranger Bussy Flap was defeated. Curse, I don't want Curse. Using setup would be absolutely terrible for this thing. Misty wasn't enough to completely drain me, so I decided to go right into the boat full of people down in the SS Anne. So I gave the attendant my children eat free pass and hopped onto the boat. I sifted through the trash to make sure I had something to feed to my rival after beating him, but as it turns out, he already beat me to it and made the captain sick by feeding him garbage, so I just beat his ass instead. Then afterwards, I go up to the captain and give him a nice handy to make him feel better, before getting my first HM ability, Cut. In Survival, you're allowed to equip battle items other than berries, such as leftovers or items to boost damage as long as you teach your Pokemon the Cut HM. However, I saw no reason to do this in this run, and I won't be doing so. It would just break my coverage, and not really give me much of a reward in compensation. So I finished clearing out the rest of the boat as my hound leaves everybody in their cabins seeping and weeping. Then, after seeing the boat off with a smile and a wave, I make my way to Surge's gym, feeling confident enough that I can handle the big strong American man without recharging. Although upon entering, I quickly get humbled by my worst nemesis, puzzles, but eventually make it through as they weren't expecting me to be a professional dumpster diver, and I face off with the Chad of Chads himself, the Lieutenant. But as it turns out, he wasn't really a Chad, and all of his photos were photoshopped and his entire Instagram page was a sham. So I quickly made a Twitter and canceled him, but like every other cancellation, he made a half-assed apology by handing me a TM and nothing really ever came of it other than that. We headed off to Rock Tunnel instead. After a little soul searching, I came to the realization that this good boy won't be satisfied unless I feed him the souls of every trainer on the face of the earth. But we made an agreement and settled that just Kanto would be enough, and I had to clear out all of Rock Tunnel because of it. Of course, I healed before going inside. Since I don't have access to the Flash TM, as that would require me to catch more than my fair share of Pokemon, I just put a bag over my head and went in raw like any real man would. As nothing too exciting happened in Rock Tunnel, we just simply released the beast and found ourselves exiting Rock Tunnel as a new man. I begin the part of the run which is just the grind. So if you see these areas I highlighted on the map, they're full of nothing but trainers and a couple of items. Usually the items are as disappointing as... I was going to say something about me being in bed, but then I realized I'm never even going to be in that situation, so that joke wouldn't make any sense. So we clear as many of these trainers as we possibly can between each gym battle or important event place where we would absolutely need to heal with Nurse Joy before going in. Unless something majorly interesting happens inside the routes, spoiler alert, it really doesn't, I'm just going to leave them out. Nothing makes a person more flaccid than a few hours of mindless trainer grinding. So I did as much grinding as my PP would allow me before heading over to Celadon and getting Nurse Joy to hook me up with some car batteries to attach to my nips so that I could electrify the game corner with maximum juice. But not before soliciting this old lady to take care of the thirsty guards leading into Saffron. New routes unlocked. I went back into the game corner to do some underage gambling, only to find out that it's ran by the evil Team Rocket. So with the good-hearted intention of going down to return the Nugget Bridge guy's testicle, I ended up releasing the hound on all of them and take my first step into undermining an entire criminal organization by mistake. After I beat the boss man, he ends up dropping his VR headset, so instead of being a good person this time, I take his sticky goggles and post them on Craigslist to sell. As being a good person really hasn't been working out for me very well. After taking a quick taste of the secret sauce packet that was left on the headset for some reason, that gave me enough moxie to head over and invade the safe space for some girls in town. Okay, well, with the way my PP is looking here, I might just clear some more Pokemon, or clear some more trainers, and then I will go to Pokemon Tower. I don't think I have enough PP for all of Pokemon Tower. If I have to skip a trainer or two in Pokemon Tower, big whoop. I'll just go to Pokemon Tower after this. And if I end up needing to use my PP healing, oh well. But alas, they couldn't handle my onion-scented armpits or the sweet masculine energy I presented, so they paid me off with a TM just to leave them be. So I did. Pretty quickly got an offer from someone to buy my new piece of hardware. So instead of heading over to Nurse Joy, I just rub my balls on a cheese grater and hop on over to Lavender Town to meet up with the old man who offered to trade me his wake-up stick for it. Whatever that means. When I got to the top of his incredibly tall home, I found out that Giovanni sent his boys to get that headset back. Apparently it has his secret sauce on it and was used in some type of burger chain that I've never heard of. But that's fine, because now I can wake up sleeping Pokemon and continue my grinding section. So after we ended up joining a biker gang and stealing their loot, beating up some kids, etc, Naruto challenged us to an all-out brawl in Fuchsia, so obviously we have to catch him inside. The building was pretty easy to find with the echoing screams of "Believe It" making my ears bleed from across the city. So, before going into the gym, I went to Nurse Joy to get some medical attention from the blood vessels that burst in my brain. I was gonna make a sexual joke about it, but then I realized that both Sakura and Nurse Joy have pink hair, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So instead, I just went to beat up more children. After raking through the Leaf Village, I made it to Koga, who actually gave me a bit of a scare right here. Fuzente was able to actually tank multiple hits from me, but luckily, he must have had 0 attack stat and did 0 damage, even with super effective Earthquake. And we claimed our victory from Koga. Believe it. Ooh, crunch. It would have taken 3 regardless, Nostra, so I was better off saving the PP. Alright, we fight more trainers now. Let's go. Cringe exploded and pants freshly shitted. I went into the woods up north to meet a weird guy in a shack who gave us the Surfeit gem. And finding an old man in his teeth to make us Stronk boys, of course. I don't know how his teeth got out there, but yeah, I'm not cleaning them. I'm giving them back dirty and he's just gonna put them in his mouth. It's pretty gross. Anyways, now I have access to quite a few more places, such as all the water routes to fight the trainers there, the power plant, and the Seafoam Islands. I make sure that before I fight any trainers, I get the items. Even though I don't feel like I need them at this point, I still feel more comfortable going to the power plant first just to check the items. It's also a great way to wash my brown stained pants in the river leading there. Jumping out of the water, there was a guy there who smelled the sweet dankness of my britches and challenged me to a duel, which I won, and then went to nab all the loot inside of the building, and found a giant bird that turned out to be a weird, fluffy, flaming dog thing. Seriously, what the hell is that? After I finished drying my pants off on the power generators, I began making my way over to Seafoam Islands, clearing all the trainers on the way. Having no trouble doing so, I entered Seafoam Islands. Seafoam Islands usually has a good bit of item checks, but it's generally pretty disappointing and you end up just shoving huge balls into even huger holes with them wet, and doing a whole lot of nothing, really. But I think we got lost at this point because we ended up getting into a completely different area than we started. But our hound was getting thirsty for the tears of the innocent again, so I made sure to find a couple of swimmers to annihilate before hitting up Cinnabar. But as I landed on Cinnabar and I checked my bag for the shaving cream that I had offered to Blaine, I noticed that I didn't have any shaving cream for his head, and I didn't want to disappoint him. So I don't bother with Blaine or the mansion yet at this point, and instead decided to start heading back home and destroy the souls of any swimmers between Pallet and Cinnabar. After taking my dog for his swim, I head back to Saffron to finally purchase the shaving cream that Blaine wanted, but I noticed that when I got to the mart they were out of stock. Also, I decided to go destroy some goons from that evil organization again to try to steal some from them. So after a good pep talk from the non-Sakura Nurse Joy this time, which leaves me with a total of 4 more heals for the rest of the run, I entered the Sylph building and figured this would be a good time to reaffirm the rule that when you enter a building, you're not allowed to enter the building twice. So no exit until you've finished in there. Because of that, the best strategy is to go all the way to the end and work your way back. So I go to floor 5, grab the key card, then I head back to floor 3 to show the rival that I'm still quite a bit superior to him in every way conceivable and that he's a foot-sniffing wee-wee hover. And then, after killing the trainer right before Giovanni, I skip Giovanni for now because if you beat him, all the rockets in Sylph will disappear. I need to go out and clear as many of them as possible to satiate my dog, because I'm contracted by my Lord Stan and his killer death dog that he so graciously blessed me with. I managed to clear every single trainer in the building with the help of some of my PP recovery items, because this is a PG channel, which is extremely rare to actually see, so that'll absolutely set me up for the rest of the run. Typically inside of the Sylph building, you're lucky to be able to cover half of the trainers, if that. If you're really lucky, like 3/4, but in this run, we were able to do them all. So I made my way back up to Giovanni to steal some more of his secret sauce as a replacement for the shaving cream that I failed to acquire earlier, which he was not happy about to say the least, and then he stormed off, leaving his sauce and his balls behind, which of course I had to take for myself. Thanks, old guy. Speaking of weird old guys, I seem to be surrounded by them all the time, so I left Saffron to head off back to Cinnabar and clear out the mansion to obtain a key that allows me to enter the private gym and plow through all the white women on treadmills to deliver the creamy goodness to the bald buccaneer himself. But before I actually enter that gym, I need some experience talking to girls. So first I try Nurse Joy, but she's busy working or doing something that's not important, I guess. I don't really know. Don't worry, puppers. We'll get her soon. So instead, I head over to the only other white woman I can think of who isn't Erica, because she's still recovering from the onion pit incident. I go to see this bad bitch Sabrina who can hopefully cast a spell on me with her psychic abilities to grant me the capability to walk past the treadmillers without being accused of sexual harassment. So I went back and forth on these teleportation panels, slaughtering all those who dare to stand in the path of the almighty dog poop, and eventually get to Sabrina, who challenges me to a showdown and thinks she has the upper hand. That's a good joke. Will my poo turn white? I don't know, poop outside for a while and see. I haven't gotten a single lumberry this run, by the way. No lumberries, sucks. Her team was kind of a joke. Like, it was like really bad Pokemon. Then afterwards, she not only gives me a new useless TM as a reward, but also a few good words of advice. All I had to do in order to repel women was just be myself. Thanks, Sabrina. I never thought of that. Now that I can get my way through all the treadmills, I can... Wait. Not any white women here, I was lied to. Fuck, man. Whatever, I'll just fight these nerds and fat men trying to lose weight instead. They say fat adds flavor, so my phenomenal boy will still be very happy. The Blaine fight went about to be as expected, with him going full manga on my ass, sending out Mewtwo immediately. But Pago the doggo went full toothy BJ on it and bit both its front and back tails off. The rest of his team, however, stood no chance. He represented the team of an 8-year-old playing his first Pokemon game, but in the end, I was able to sweep it fairly easily, and now COVID needs to move over because there's a new Boomer Doomer in town. So I exit the gym and tell Bill I'm too buff and cool to hang out with him, sending him running away to an entirely different continent to get away from the shame. And then I head over to the fighting dojo to hang out with people more buff than me to shrink my ego down to the size of my penis. Then before the final gym, we make sure to clear as many trainers as we can, which is the final time we'll have to do so, as this will have officially cleared every trainer on the map minus Victory Road. Just a quick mention of the rules again, but in survival, you aren't permitted to use PP maxes on any move, and only 1 PP up per move. But you can, however, trade those PP maxes in to be able to buy either 1 Hyper Potion, which I don't need, or 3 status healing items. So because I can't let my PP get too large, I went to Cinnabar to buy myself 3 full heals and rid myself of this PP max. Otherwise Nurse Joy might get intimidated and not let me sniff her feet after dinner. Speaking of, with the PC visit done and the sniffing of feet out of the way, I make my way to Giovanni's gym for the penultimate task of my run. Although the master of olive oil's gym and his greasy gang of garlic-smelling grunts is typically a bit more of a challenge. All I had to do was make doggers burn the stench off of them along with my nose hairs, and we climbed our way to the Ragu Wrangler himself. He started by throwing out his astronomical areolas because every meal is a bit better with some heavy cream, but his brigade of booba was ultimately ineffective against the crazy amount of testosterone being pumped through my hot flaming dog. Butterfree! Ugh! Bobby, how could you? Here.
Butterfree, I choose you!
Butterfree dead.
I choose you!
Alright, I'm gonna Thunderbolt this because Thunderbolt is a little bit stronger. I didn't want to take any chances there. Cool. Alright, we're going to E4. Let's go. So after grounding Geo and taking his Earth badge, I headed over to Route 22 to disrespect my rival once more by not healing and instead just using some small heals, which I'm pretty sure are expired by this point. But that's okay. Expiration dates are really just a suggestion. I fought my rival, but the lack of boss music during the encounter told me it wouldn't be a problem, and I mashed A as hard as I possibly could to bust through the match, no problem. Now with that done, we have to make our way to the final stretch before the Elite Four, Victory Road. So I made my way to Nurse Joy to both heal up and ask her what the risk factor is for all these people whose shit I've pushed in on this run. Turns out our clinic has received a lot of financial backing due to the influx of people admitted. So feeling good that I could help out an entire community, I make my way over to Victory Road to help out Nurse Joy some more by destroying all the remaining people's fecal chasms. Fecal chasms? Who wrote this? Anyways, grabbing all the hidden items on the way past the guards to assert my know-how and dominance, I enter the cave and break all of their bones one by one, but not before grabbing all the items for myself and setting up the exit. Same strategy I used for Silphco, as I had no idea what Pokemon these trainers would have, so I wanted my escape plan to be set up before any fights. Eventually I made my way through all the trainers and their spam of mock-punching Alakazams with 0 attack stat. Like really, there was a lot of them. But I made my way on top with a pretty decent level for the Elite Four, which I'll be making even better with the lump sum of rare candies I extracted from that crack house in my old neighborhood. With my newly souped up Devil Dog, I make one last check with Nurse Joy just to chat and not actually do anything sexual or weird at all for a change. She's the only friend in the world I have at this point. And now for the Elite Four, the last remaining group of fighters assembled to stop my rampage and me from asserting world dominance. I'm not going to do time skips during the actual fights here, just so you can all see how moist this dog makes us before drying it all out with his drought. So the first contender here is Lorelei, who's basically discount Nurse Joy, let's be honest. But she sends out Muck, who she probably named Cum, in a degenerate display to be funny. It doesn't work, only I get to do that. This just proves she's a low-class knockoff after all. The rest of her team consists of very sus Pokemon too, but come on, sorry lady. Turbo Virgin, you can't distract me with such buffoonery. Also, all I have to do is press A a lot, so I can easily just do this with one hand anyways. Before Bruno, I make sure to level up my doggo with some of those crack rocks that I was talking about before. That way I don't get demasculated like I did at the fighting dojo. And no matter how many roids I give to my dog, nothing will outmanly this piece of 0% body fat. And just as I thought, it didn't work and my penis shriveled inside of my body at the sight of him. So I hid behind Houndoom and let fate take its course. Luckily, unlike Lorelei, Bruno was more into the girly things and sent out his cutie clutch after me to try to drown out my flames with their Starbucks. But they weren't willing to let their coffee burn long enough to dampen my fire, so they inevitably met their demise. And my penis still hasn't really come back out, but I hope for the best. Anyways, moving on to the third victim.
We have the queen of crust and cobwebs herself, Agatha. She starts off strong with a Metagross who gives me a bit of trouble. Nah, I'm just kidding. It was pretty much a sweep from the jump. Because I think she's too busy simping over Professor Oak, which gives me a PTSD attack and sends me crying in the corner for the entire match. But my dog doesn't actually need me and just consumes the flesh of her Pokemon anyways, leaving her soul intact though because, yeah, ew. Not even dog poop will sink that low. So I brush myself off and get up from the corner, and we head into the next room to face the final fighter, Nancy. Nancy is very insecure in his own masculinity, however, and he gets pretty angry at my not too flattering nickname and claims that he's not going to hold back, while also saying that we're going to meet his dark side that he keeps from the world or something like that, and he's covering one eye with his hand. Oh god. So he sends out the muscle midget, Nidoking, to accurately display his levels of toxic masculinity. But me being on my Sigma male grind set, I don't give way to this nonsense and take him and his quote-unquote my wiener is small starter pack of a team without a second thought. Now, leaving Lance crying and devoid of all of his testosterone, I make my final ascent into the challenge we've all been waiting for, the fight against none other but Man Nipple, my rival. Starting the match off, he sends out Fuckle the Shuckle to cuckle me, but Shuckle was about as bad as the joke I just made, and I was able to take a nice bite out of him and send it to the Shadow Realm. The second mon was Midlife Crisis Bird, with just the finger part of the rubber glove for a hat, which was easily taken out by a Thunderbolt. Then thirdly, we had the Tin Titan, who, as always, can't take the heat of the flaming bag of dog dew I leave on his doorstep, and goes to run to grab a full restore to put it out. But history always repeats itself, so I hit him a second time to seal the deal. Next on the list is the rival's allowance, which I professionally steal away from him by beating the hell out of him and taking it. How else? And then after that he got fed up and sent out a Pokemon just to make fun of my nose. But fortunately, I know how to handle large noses and go Mike Tyson on his ass to take him out. Last and probably least, if I'm being honest, he sent out Edward Shitfingers and tried to tickle my booty with a bloody bang, but instead I gave him the Sweeney Todd and made him into a nice minced meat pie. And that's it, it's the run. We destroyed the world or something, I guess. Our final step is to give Professor Oak his just desserts and take him into a private room to end things. And there you have it. There's me, in the Hall of Fame. Not really me. Feels good, man. Anyways, while the credits are rolling, I guess I can say a couple of extra things. So, thank you guys for watching and checking out the video. If you made it this far, please consider leaving a like and maybe even subscribing, because there's more content to come, of course. But it was my first time making a video in this format, and I put a lot of work into it, so I really would appreciate it. If you're interested in this challenge, however, the one that I just completed here on the run, yes, I actually did complete a challenge, believe it or not, feel free to check out the rules and join the Discord. All the links will be in the description. They'll have plenty of resources you need to get started on your own adventure, and they'll be able to answer whatever questions you might have along the way as well. And I do stream all of these attempts on my Twitch, along with many other challenges in various games, and it's always a good time. So if you ever want to catch them live, feel free to check out the link for that in the description as well. Alright, well I still got one more Pokemon Center visit I'm allowed to make, so I'm gonna go hang out with Nurse Joy. Later, guys.